Welcome to Self-Publishing with Ally, proudly sponsored by Publish Me, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, Publish Me ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me. And now, here's your host for Self-Publishing with Ally, Dan Holloway.
Hello, welcome to another week of self-publishing news. And apologies, I have no idea what I sound like, but my voice still feels as though my throat has been scratched with sandpaper and washed out with bleach. So there you go. I never was one for a powerful metaphor, but if that conveys something of what is going on inside my throat, I hope that's not off-putting for the tone of my voice. I will keep this brief, though, for which apologies. But it has been quite a dramatic week in the news for the time of year. We're used to this time of year being about bestsellers lists and recommendations for Christmas presents and roundups of what's been going on through the year, top tens and the like. But there have actually been two really quite big stories from Amazon over the past week. And I will start with the biggest of them, and this is one that has been really controversial. And that is not surprising, and that is around the change to Kindle's digital rights management policy, or DRM, as I will be calling it. So DRM is the technology that basically stops people doing stuff to digital files. It's a way of protecting digital files to mean that they can't be copied and they can't be shared and you can't do all sorts of other things with them like download them. Or increasingly for Amazon and Kindle files, transfer them across devices even. So when, as you know, you decide to publish with KDP, you have a choice of whether or not you want to enable DRM. If you do, then all of those things will be active. People will not be able to download or share or use files offline, or these days transfer them to even other Kindle devices, or not directly anyway. This is something we touched on when they changed the policy of how to transfer across between different devices and the same account. It has become tricky. But nonetheless, many people decide to apply DRM as a way of protecting their copyrights, protecting their content, and stopping piracy. Nonetheless, a lot of people decide not to. Not that many within the mainstream publishing world, although you may remember probably about a decade ago now, science fiction publisher Tor which is of course not to be confused with the browser Tor, was sort of one of the more cutting-edge, high-profile science fiction publishers, made it a big thing that they didn't apply DRM. And a lot of indies don't apply DRM because they want to make it easy for people to download their work or to read it offline or to switch between devices, all the kind of things you can do if you don't have DRM enabled. A lot of people have also decided that because it is perfectly possible, albeit relatively tricky, to strip DRM away from products, they have sort of feel as though there's no point in putting DRM. It just alienates readers, and the ones who want to get around it can get around it anyway. So a lot of people, traditionally, especially indies, haven't enabled DRM when they publish to KDP. But now, from the 20th of January next year, people who do not apply DRM, what happens to your book is going to change. So up until now, up until 20th of January, if you don't apply DRM, then the proprietary file, I think it's still .mobi that Kindle uses, that file can be downloaded and you can do things with it. But it's still a Mobi file. But from the 20th of January, if Kindle books don't have DRM applied, people will have the choice of downloading also as an EPUB or as a PDF. So these are obviously the two most widely used and, importantly, universally readable digital files. EPUB is, of course, the W3C standard online readable format, and PDF is the standard format for print-ready digital files. All of them can be read on many, many devices. And so this has caused a lot of furore. People have said that this is actually going to make piracy considerably easier. So I've had some correspondence from Ally members who are worried about this. The question is very simple. Will this make it easier for my works to be pirated if I do not have DRM enabled? And the answer is basically yes. If someone wants to share your work without your permission and breach your copyright, then it will be not necessarily easier for them to do so because they can share the file already, but it will be, they can do so with more people who will then be able to read it and do the things you don't want them to do without paying, because EPUBs and PDFs are so widely able to be read. So yes, and the short answer is it will make piracy easier, and some people have argued that as a result of that, it actually discourages people from not applying DRM. So actually more books are now going to have DRM applied, and this is therefore sort of going to become a self-defeating policy. If Amazon wants it to be that more people are able to read books more freely across more devices, then they're actually shooting themselves in the foot, because now more people are going to be applying DRM. So to finish off on this story, a couple of practical points. This applies to new books published after this date, or specifically after December the 9th. So for titles published after December the 9th, this is going to apply from the 20th of January. If you want to change the terms of your DRM for titles published previous to that so that they can be downloaded as EPUBs and PDFs, you can go into your settings and you can do it from there, but it won't be done automatically. So there is a very helpful guide on Amazon of how to do that, should you wish to do so. So that's the big news from Amazon. Kind of another big story from Amazon is that Audible has partnered with TikTok, and this is to curate something called #BestOfBookTok. So this basically is a section within the Audible app called Best of Book Talk. It is somewhere where you can go within the app to find all the top trending titles on TikTok and download them direct from Audible. It promises a high degree of curation. It promises curation by microgenre. Interestingly, when they talk about microgenres and give examples, they talk about romantasy. I'm not quite sure in what world that is a micro anything, given that it is a whacking great behemoth of a commercial genre. At the moment, they also cite dark academia, which is more of a microgenre. But you get the picture that what you will be able to find is the kind of things that people are talking about on TikTok, which are there ready for you to purchase within your Audible account, making it easier for you to follow the trends and buy something if it takes your fancy. So it's interesting because it's the sort of thing that you probably couldn't have imagined a few weeks or months ago when the future of TikTok seemed very much in doubt. And on that note, the other thing that has happened, which is a major story over the past week, is the Australian social media ban has come into place. So this isn't just a ban of one platform, it is a ban of every social media platform for anyone under the age of 16. And this is obviously a massive thing, given just how big the book community on social media for young adult fiction is. And so it is likely to have a big effect on people who are able to discover books through social media and potentially on sales of young adult and new adult fiction and other things that appeal to such audiences, exactly like dark academia and romantasy that we've already looked at. So this is something that has caused a lot of fuss. A lot of young creators in Australia are very unhappy. One interesting thing is that this applies to social media. It doesn't apply to gaming, even those forms of gaming that have very extensive in-game chat functions. So you can imagine a situation where social reading communities might well migrate to gaming platforms and set up new things. Because if there's one thing we know, it's that people who love creative things have creative ways of finding communities who share that love with them. So an interesting situation to follow. We'll see whether the ban stays in place and what impact it might have as the new year unfolds. And with that, it will have been Christmas by the time I speak to you next week. So Merry Christmas in prospect. And I look forward to speaking to you again for our end of the year roundup. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with Ally, proudly sponsored by PublishMe, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, PublishMe ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our association and become a self-publishing ally. You could do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.